Dan here. Diddy Speed Shop. Man, this car looks good, eh? Everybody needs a Nomad in their life. Or two, for that matter. Clearly we're working on this hot rod. On the last video, we had done the rear, it was a hodgepodge. We did the rear suspension, dropped her down a little bit, changed the fuel tank, and welded some floors, and then kind of just tossed some carpet and the seat in there. Now, I didn't bolt the seat down, and here's why. We got me under the dash. What we're doing today is the front half of the suspension brake upgrade. Got some hair in the lens. Jeez, come on, guys, get her together. So that is the plan. Now, this car, it's a little funny, I guess, in how it was optioned. It has power brakes. It's got this weird vacuumy pressure treadle deck system, which I didn't realize was going to be a bit of a hassle till mere minutes ago. But you know what? We'll tackle it together. So it has power brakes, but does not have power steering, which would have been a nice option. I mean, come on, guy who ordered this in '55. What were you thinking all these years later when I was going to buy it from a towing option? Dead. Anywho, the kit I have goes as follows. Everything is included except for shocks, Coca-Colas, my gloves, and some Moog parts. I got it off eBay, Tom's Classics, which, as it turns out, I get all my glass from Auto City Classics. It's the same guy. Who'd have thought, right? So the kit is pretty comprehensive. It was $649, and that kit is for drop spindles. If you want just disc brakes, it's cheaper, and I also went with power disc brakes. So there's a few different options. You can go, I said, regular front discs, power front discs with drop spindles, and then power front discs, drop spindles, and tubular control arms. Pick your poison. This kit's pretty cool. So I said it's got drop spindles, it's got rotors, it's got all of our bearings we need in there, and seals, couple of brake lines, adapter kit to the firewall. It's got the metering block or proportioning valve, whatever you want to call it, with a couple of lines and all that to it. It's got a power booster. I think that's a fairly small one, 8 inch, 7 inch, 8 inch. Calipers and brakes, and it actually came with brake line, which is kind of unique. I've never had a kit come with brake line before, so I was only imagine when I paid to ship that box to Canada. Anyway, it'll all go together. I put, I believe, this exact same kit minus drop spindles on my other 55 Nomad. I sound like such a pompous jackass when I say my other 55 Nomad, like everybody has that. I realize I'm very fortunate. Thank you guys so much for watching. And it went very smoothly. Now, that being said, that car, there was nothing to that car. So we'll have to figure a few things out. Now, I didn't realize this brake system is kind of a unique unit. Now, originally, I wasn't even against keeping it until I started pricing it out. So obviously it's no good. It leaks, it's unhappy. A new one of them, reman, is like $750 American plus exchange, or with exchange, I guess I should say. So it's $100 more than that entire kit just for this one piece. Then we have to go through shoes, wheel cylinders, drums. Again, not the end of the world. I don't know if you can upgrade to dual pot master on this or not. Again, kind of irrelevant. And then if we had to do wheel bearings, these are ball bearing wheel bearings, so they're like $50 a hit versus your standard taper Timken deals, right? So that's kind of how I justified it. Again, you can get away with a single pot and all that. The dual deal is just kind of, in my mind, you have that little bit extra, you can slow down, you can stop, and this is actually, I know I don't treat it very well, it's very dirty, but it is a fairly valuable car. Now, this is the curveball. Whoop! This stupid braking system. I thought, oh, I'll just pull it out, throw it in the garbage, and start fresh. Not the case. Not the case. Now let's just get in here real cozy like. So if you notice, oh, man, everything's metal. What a handy thing. So the power brakes. The brake pedal is quite low. I have the gas pedal off, don't worry. And the clutch pedal is where it is. On every other car, the brake pedal is quite a bit higher. Now this is where it's gonna get, we're gonna go Tri-5 nerd. Full Tri-5 nerd. Oh God, hang on, I know it's dark, I'm sorry. I'm not gonna get that set up. Okay. Now, man, this is brutal under here. I feel like I'm gonna spend a little bit of time showing you this and then do the rest myself. Typically, your brake pedal has a rod that would go right through where my finger is. So these four, there's two studs there and there's two on the other side. That's where your brake system would be. The rod would go straight through there. You probably can't even see it here, but there's, oh man, I am so sorry. There's a hole in there, but it's capped. Now here's the weird deal. This brake pedal, it's got this cantilever thing which goes down into there and then it goes up somehow. Look at this disaster. What is this? It pulls back on it somehow. Okay, so take that out. We'll figure it all out. Here's the next curveball. It's got, see this little thing right there kind of riding on the brake switch? It's a unique pedal. So even if I take this all out, this part right there and above it there's a little stop which you can't see, holds the pedal from coming any further back. So I'm gonna get it. Hang on, I'm gonna shimmy. So hopefully I can make it all work with that brake pedal being low, that will still be able to stop the thing. Brakes are a very unique universe when it comes to linkage and pivot points and all that sort of stuff. And typically, you don't want to screw with those. So, we're going to put it all together. We're going to put it all together there. We'll put the front suspension on. We'll do all that. We have to fix the steering, whether that's this video or not, because it's been bent with the tie rods. My concern is going to be the pedal's going to be so low that we'll not have enough travel to actually apply the brakes fully by the way this pedal is and that setup. Which, I talked to the guy and he says, hey man, good luck. Worst case, I do have a pedal kit, so that I'm in a unique situation. Again, you know, Tri-5 junk. A lot of work to take all the pedals out to accomplish everything. Or, I guess you could take that pedal out and maybe grind it all down and whatnot. But I would like to try and keep this thing as original as possible by just unbolting items. So, there you go, my little explanation. It's already late. I don't know how much I'm going to get done tonight, but at the very least we'll get this thing up. We'll try and get the front end apart. There is a little bit of grinding to do on the spindles or on the control arm to make everything fit. And we'll see kind of where we end up. I'd like to see this thing down on the ground maybe tomorrow. Lowered. Whether the brakes work or not is irrelevant. We got to get it slammed down and looking cool, right? We can do the rest after. Plumbing and bleeding and all that sort of stuff. Kind of sounds like my life too, not just brakes. See you up in the air. As promised, up in the air. I took the drum off. So this is all factory stuff. The original ones have a little spring on it. Now something has been done to this. Typically the drum is pressed onto the hub. So at some point someone has depressed that, which is kind of cool. I actually thought maybe what the common upgrade on this is to upgrade to like 64 or something like that and up Impala hubs. And then you can still run the factory brakes, but you have the newer style bearings. So you can see here, this is what this deal is. Ball bearing stuff, which is fine. But when they crack and break, it's expensive, hard to find. That's all together. Now, this thing has had ball joints put on it, because those are bolt on, top and bottom, not rivet on. That's bonus. Obviously it breaks here, like, been sitting for a while. They're a little on the corrode side, but they actually still have meat on them and they're not leaking, which is amazing, but irrelevant in this case. Brake hose, she no good, cracked. You can see here the tie rod. Woo, she's been pulled on. A couple other things. This thing's got like an old school upgrade where you'd put like a sleeve bearing deal on the steering. That was like poor man's power steering versus having bushings, supposed to steer nicer. Who knows? The control arm bushings are all intact. They're a little cracked, but honestly, I've put brand new Moog garbage in cars, and 2 years later, they look just like that. And I mean, we're talking 5,000 miles, so same stuff. I undid the top shock bolt. We'll take the shocks out, and then all we really got to do is break the spindle. So tie rod off, which they're junk, they're irrelevant. I will be careful when I'm taking the spindles off, because I would rather not like use a pickle fork, try and keep the boots and stuff in good shape. So we'll smack with a hammer, cut that brake line off, and yeah, it all should come off pretty simple. I think there may be some modification we have to do to the, like I said, to the lower control arm. This thing's so nice. Lower control arms are always smashed. This one is not. It even has like this stupid little dust shield. Like, this car's so friggin' complete. It's unbelievable. So we'll get the camera set up and we'll start taking this thing all apart, stripping her down, and maybe we'll get it back together tonight. We'll see. I'm all set up. I'm gonna set the camera up and I'll show you exactly what I'm gonna do, but I thought I would just explain it first. So the way Tri-5 Chevrolet suspension goes, the upper ball joint, then spindle, then our nut, and then the bottom is kind of the same thing. So the spindle goes up into the ball joint. So we have to break those ball joints. You need a little bit of load on them. So the upper is very simple. We'll just loosen the nut. I already have the cotter pins out. We'll loosen that a few turns. I'm going to give right here a pretty good clout. That's a mer word, merism. We'll bang that. It will separate the ball joint. Tunk. It'll come off, but it'll stay on the nut. So we're good on that. I can then put in my spring compressor, homemade 1/2-inch rod, through where the shock was, which I will say the shock was like in mint shape. It's probably fine. Like, look at that. Like, guaranteed these new ones I'm putting in, they won't last as long as these ones, which who knows how old they are. We'll compress the lower control arm up, which will make the upper control arm just absolutely floppy. So we can completely loosen that. Then we'll just go ahead and clout, same deal, down there with a hammer. And the weight of the spindle will have it fall. And nothing will go bad because everything is being held together by that all-thread rod. Spindle could come off. We can then modify the lower control arm, I believe just a little bit, and possibly the spindle. We'll see what we have to do. Put that back on, put the new, nut and bolt back on. It's locked together. It ain't going nowhere. We're back to being safe. Simple. So let's get the camera set up. I'll get a hammer and we'll start going. It's a bit kind of hard to see what's going on there. So there's your little explanation. Be careful around springs and stuff. You could get hurt. Okay, hopefully this goes as planned. So let's kind of loosen this guy off. Oh, you don't want to go too crazy. You just want it to fall out of the spindle, but not mangle your life. So, struggling here, struggling. Give it a little bit, a couple of threads here. Got the ball peen. Hopefully it'll come apart nice and easy so I don't look like a complete idiot. Should be good. You know what? I hate springs, so we'll just go ahead, put this in just for like ultimate safety real quick, then we'll come back and start smashing. Okay, everything's together. I turned the wheel just to get a better schwack at it. We have our compressor in there, nuts loose, ear protection on. Let's see what we can do here. Don't smash the frickin' fender. There we go, broke. Just that easy. So now you can see we're on the nut and there's space up there. So that is now loose. I will then, well now, man, I look good. We're just gonna tighten up the spring compressor, hold everything snug as a bug, and then we'll do the same thing with just the weight of the spindle. We'll probably do the control or the tie rod too. I'll just use a pickle fork on that. Tie rod just smacked with a hammer, it's out. We have the coil spring compressor in there, and you can see now, see there's no load on that. So we should be good. We can actually, in fact, put the camera down, take that right off, or at least loosen it a bunch. I have loosened the nut down there. Man, the camera here, lighting. So I should be able to schwagsky that, it'll fall off. Onto the nut, I should say. And we're golden. So let's get the camera set up, we'll do it one more time, then we just gotta cut the brake line off, whole spindle, whole mess will come off all together. Boom, spindle off. Little paint can or cup to hold the brake fluid's leaking. I just trimmed it. We have our new spindle on. This working is not complicated, but there are no instructions to this kit, so it's a little bit of you got to figure it out. And if you're watching this, try and figure that out. Give me a little like below or something. So this is your standard deal. So the drop spindle, all it does, the spindle is centered in that one. This one is offset upwards 2 inches. So obviously if you raise the spindle, you raise the tire up, which essentially lowers the car 2 inches, but you remain everything else the same geometry wise, right? Your steering is dropped or remains in the same spot. So everything is the exact same for all intents and purposes. Now the situation we run into is as follows. The lower control arm rubs against this spindle, so you lose kind of full lock. So what we're going to have to do, we're going to grind these edges off a little bit, and then we're probably going to go ahead and grind in the lower control arm just so it has as much clearance as possible. So we should be okay. So everything's held together with that all thread, but I would like to have this on tonight. So I'm just going to go ahead, like I said, clean those up, clean this up, and I'll bring it back and show you what I'm doing. There's no sense watching me grind and grind and grind. If it's touching, it's wrong, grind it. Let's dive in here. So hang on, the light on it. So I ground just a little edge in there. You can see that or not. And then I ground so they were square. I just kind of made them a little better. So they clear there, right? We got lots of that. But now we're running into this lower control arm. It's hitting right there. So we're gonna just go ahead and grind in there a little bit. And if we want, we can grind right there as well. But honestly, I don't know how much more steering you're gonna want, because in reality, this is your steering, this damn light. This is your steering stop, and if we had our steering arm on, which is that piece right there, I think that's probably what all the steering you're gonna get. That's a fair bit of angle. But we'll just trim that down just a little bit more. Send her on home. Okay, so we got the spindles are on. Now I'm gonna pack a few of these here bearings. I'm sure you guys have seen this done a bazillion times, but we'll just do one right quick here. People always ask what kind of grease. That's what I had. Heavy duty. It says on there, wheel bearing. If it says wheel bearing grease, you're probably frickin' fine. So, get this sucker out. Man, really wrap this thing. So, get a little glob. Now you want to make sure you're kind of pushing it through the bottom like that. You just got to keep working your way around. And as you can see, it's coming out the top there. Once you do that, you're golden. So we'll do, we'll only do two right now. Big one, small one, big one's on the back, small one's on the front. And then we'll have to install the back one with a seal. So I'll get this taken care of, then we'll do that real quick on the bench. Put it all together and probably call it a night. We might hang the brakes on it. We'll see what happens. All right, we're on the bench. We have our rotor. The races are already in there, so that's pretty sweet. Drop that freshly greased bearing in there. There's just a little seal we gotta jam in. So you just kind of want to work your way around a little. Kind of get it started. Struggle in. Guess I could have cleaned the hammer first. Ah, little grease never hurt anybody. Good to go. Slap the sucker together. Okay, bearings in, front bearings on. Nice thing about these spindles is they are drilled multiple ways, so it's kind of easy to get the nut on. Now, in my experience, the kit comes with a new nut and a washer. Without fail, you will put this washer on, and when this nut is bottomed out, you can already see it, the cotter pin will not catch any of the little the pieces of the castle nut. Now, there's two ways to fix that. One, it's double washer. You can steal one off the other one. It'll space it out. Right? There you go. That'll work just fine. Two, the old nut. I can put these side by side. You see that? Obviously, there's more meat on this one. So we're just going to run the old nut and toss this one in the bin. But like this section right here, we're just going to bottom out to where the little notch is. It's higher up there. So that's what we're going to do. We'll get that set up in there real quick. Again, when you're putting it on there, spin it as you tighten it up, over tight, loosen it, kind of finger tight, pin in, you're fine. There's probably specs out there on the internet. If you want to use those, by all means. And then on your first oil change, double check it. We'll do that. Then all we got to do is put on the caliper, which is 2 simple GM pins. And this thing will be all together. I mean, obviously not plumbed or nothing, but enough we can put a wheel on it. All right, last bit. We've got this on. It's all dialed together. We have your standard GM single floater, every Malibu, Chevelle, forevermore. This one, R for right. The only thing you really got to make sure, she's going to go on like that. Bleeder to the top, gentlemen and lady, mom. Don't forget that. Second of all, what I'll probably do is we'll take this little foam bit out. We'll put a little anti-squeak whatever on the pads, and we'll put a little never seize on the pins. Put those in there. Super, super simple. And then that's ready to go. We will obviously have to, down the road, where did I put them? Well, down the road being probably tomorrow, run these rubber lines. We'll have to take care of that, and then obviously start replumbing the whole system. But we'll get that on real quick. I don't have any brake cleaners, so we'll have to put it all together and then brake clean after, but we should be fine. Okay, so we'll try and put this together right quick. So we got a little bit of the anti-squeal on both sides. You want to make sure on this kit the squealers on the bottom, they actually install the pads wrong. So you got to switch them side to side. So we'll jam that in there. Oops. Hang on. Get that. Push back in. Okay. So there you go. Now, here's a little thing I've experienced. So the pin is going to go through the back, thread into the spindle, and it's going to kind of ride there and ride on the end. There's this little O-ring in there, and if the pin grabs that O-ring, it'll push it out. So a little anti-seize in there probably can't hurt, right? Anti-seize gets freaking everywhere. So how can we get this going? Just line this up. Get that in so it's where it wants to be. Where's my ratchet? You know, a guy plans for it and then I can't find, there we go. Dang, oh no, okay, there we go. Some good TV here. So it's threaded, there's a little sleeve it has to fit in. Now, as it's going through here, just want to be aware that's not pushing the pin out, a little O-ring out. Okay, that one's in mint. Let's do this one. Get this going all the way through. Okay, this went good. Snug these up. Let's, I want to put the wheel on, see how low it sits now. Might be a little bit cattywampus because the other side's still standard height, but let's compare them. Okay, so I just dropped this thing down. Steering's not hooked up. Danny's filming. You gotta look at it from this way. We're trying to show the... So now, you gotta get further back. Back. So the, we're actually, it's so low now it's stuck on the hoist, but the top of the tire is just tucking past the fender. And then if you go on this side, which I haven't touched yet, we have all that space between the tire and the fender. So I dig this thing. Stand back and look at it. Yeah, that's the right amount of low, I think. It's got a little bit of a rake down. Actually, I think the front will probably drop a little more because like I said, it's the hoist all the way down, but it's still on it. So we're gonna have to put boards under it to get it off. That'll be fun. But I will, tomorrow, I'm gonna do the other side. I'll just do it real quick, no point filming it twice. So we'll get both sides done and then we'll work on under the hood with that master cylinder and see what we can accomplish there. But really, we should be able to get most of it taken care of and maybe bleed the brakes in a day or two. But I just want the look. We'll do all the little screw around stuff after. See you tomorrow. New day. We're back at it. Well, I've been at it for a while. As promised. The other side is all taken care of. So that's pretty sweet. I did put the brake lines on. Go over this side real quick. Clean everything up, looks all good. But I mean, just a simple deal there. Now, the situation we're running into is we might as well do the steering while we're at it. So when I got this thing, that is the tie rod. They're both like that. This one not as bendy, but definitely any bend is not great. Now the problem is, I ordered everything. This is a non-power steering car, so our non-power steering stuff. Power steering, the driver's side has a different tie rod. I've never dealt with it before, I just have always seen that. And as it turns out, she's on the short side. But what I'm wondering is, it looks like they're turned in quite a bit. So we might be able to just kind of make it work with what we have. But that's a new one. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this in the vise, straighten it out, put a tape on it, and just see kind of about the distance and kind of eyeball it and see if because we have to reuse this adjusting sleeve. And see if we can get something accomplished, even if it's just temporary for right now. Then we'll have to figure out why this would be different. That is a new one to me, but again, this has gotta be cranked all the friggin' way in. And then, I don't know how much thread this has, but same deal, like, unless this thing has fewer threads in it, we'll find out. But damn it, if they have roughly the same amount of threads, they're cranked all the way in. Maybe it's, maybe there's some issue there, I don't really know. So we'll take a look. I gotta look, I mean, there's no power steering pump on it. power steering box. I don't know. I didn't look too closely at it, but we'll get this all taken care of, at least get it put in there so the thing will steer straight. The steering is very tight on this, so there might be a problem with the adjustment in the box, or who knows what the problem's going to be. We have to get that all taken care of, but at least now it'll be able to kind of roll, and we can get on underneath the hood with changing the master and see what we can accomplish there. It might be an absolute disaster, but at the very least we can get everything kind of set in, and then all we got to worry about is push rod length. So that should be fun. Let's, I'll get this taken apart and come right back. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and say we probably need the proper tie rod. So they were buried in there pretty deep, but you kind of get an idea. So that's how much threads are in, so maybe an inch on that side. And then this deal here is probably, probably about an inch as well. For roughly the same length. They may have to come in a little. These were 14 and a half. I kind of just put tape on them. But I mean, we got some whoop-de-woo in there. So how much did that add or take out, I don't know. I put this in at 14 3/4. So give us a little bit of screwing around. We'll, if it has to go in, win. If it has to go out, serious problem. So I don't know what you guys think about that. How much engagement should you really have? Usually there's more than that, that's for damn sure. But once it's clamped, I guess, for now. I'm going to build the other one right quick, and then we'll put it in. Now again, worst case scenario, we got to bust out one end and loosen one, kind of horseshoe bolt here, thread it out and thread the new one in. It's really zero issue, and then thread this all the way in. Everything is anti-seized, so it'll be like a 10-minute job once we get the proper part. Rock Auto does not stock it, which makes me think it may be a hassle to find, but eBay, they'll take your money left and right, so we'll see what we can do there. Also, actually, the disc brake guys might have some stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and put that together right quick. We'll just jam the shocks in. There's only 2 bolts on the bottom. We'll let them stick through the top, and once there's weight on it, we can secure them, put the wheels back on, drop her down. Should be just that simple. Wouldn't you know it, nothing goes well. We got the tie rods in. Now, one thing I noticed, and this is, I think I know a few things about Tri-5 Chevys, but I'm not an aficionado like you real nerds out there. I looked, and this adjusting sleeve on the passenger side is 6 inches, and on the other side it was only 4 inches. So I'm wondering if I can just change the adjusting sleeve on that side, and it will be fine. I mean, it would make sense. You add 1 extra inch worth of thread on each side, and you're like, lots. That'd be 2 inches of engagement. That. Second, I pulled off the spindles the steering arm, so it just bolts on. I had to go get some hardware. The kit's supposed to come with some, but I guess I just was unlucky and it didn't. It was just 2 7/16 grade 8 bolts, and you see in there? That's it. Bolts on. Now I have this attached, but there's no cotter pins because, again, I think the steering's probably coming apart. So we'll just ram that in with a couple of bolts. We'll hang that tie rod. Just kind of eyeball it. I got the wheel straight, and I'm just kind of until it looks like we're straight-ish. Then we'll drop it down. We can play with it from there. But yeah, it's happening. Things are happening. I'm pretty excited about that. So yeah, Tri-5 guys. Is that all that's different in the steering? I wish I knew what happened with this thing, just when you're digging in old cars, it's always interesting. Oh, come on, you can't tell me this isn't a good looking car now with the dog dishes and lowered just right. I will not, like, I had the blocks of wood out. It's on the lift, but I put blocks of wood in and it actually made next to no difference. So there is no suspension travel on it, but good God, this is the right car. Now here's the other thing that's weird. I put it down, the steering became nice and loose, which made sense because when I pushed it in here, it obviously had loose steering. So the alignment's all out to whack. I got to adjust to one side, but I'm not too worried about it. I should probably get down a couple of sleeves or something like that. They're probably rip off. Maybe I have a set. Put them together. But a lowered Nomad is pretty cool. You know what I mean? But anyway, I think what we're going to do now is see if we can get this master on. I did put the shocks in, so the front end's like dialed, pretty much. Got to put the top nuts on the shocks. I am concerned about the brake pedal. I really feel as though we're going to go through a bunch of stuff and then hit a giant fiasco with that pedal, and it's not going to be good. But we'll keep going tonight. We still got some time left, right? And then so we end up. This is a little bit time consuming, having to grind those spindles and kind of on and off because you don't want to take off any more material than you have to. So making sure that's right. It's a bit of a hassle, but for 650 bucks, I guess you're what's your time worth, right? I'm gonna get the hood popped, and I'll show you this goofy master cylinder because it is weird. So this unit here, it's got all sorts of, well, I had that off. This is all corroded. The pedal does nothing. Like I said, a new one was $750. It's got some sort of like vacuum and it goes in like this canister over here, and it's got this giant bracket on it, and unfortunately it looks like, hopefully the bracket can stay on because that's, I think, the overdrive, and it kind of goes through it. I'm not gonna lie, I might just zip that off. It's got all these weird fasteners, and like it is very different than any Traffic Chevrolet I've ever worked on. So we'll zip these 4 bolts off and see exactly what it looks like in there. There is a cap, and you guys are all dirty here. There is a cap where like the factory push rod kind of goes. This one like has that cantilever deal, so I don't know. There's gonna be a crate of stuff that the next owner, if he's real anal about having an original car, he'll love having it in the back. But for the rest of us who want to look cool, man, this car looks good. This sucks. So we got this piece off. It's clearly no bueno. It is ridiculous to get this out. So it's got this giant plate. So we're gonna have to take that off, which will be a bit of a hassle. But there's actually quite a bit more of these brakes than I had originally looked at. The cantilever system on it is absurd. I still have the light in there. Where did I put it? Hang on, I'm gonna find the light and we'll look at this. The light's already in here. Okay. Okay, so I originally showed you all this stuff, right? This cantilever deal. Well, then it goes over to here. I hold this light to there, so it goes across. This wiring, hang on. Whoop. And this is, so look at that, that's the deal. Goes over, and that goes up, and this is the rod. So instead of it just going straight through to a regular master, it goes up, has this weird cantilever, then has this like a jack shaft deal, almost looks like a clutch style thing, and then a rod that goes on that side. So it is freaking ridiculous. Now, we obviously take that big bracketry off the other side, and I'm hopeful that this pedal, the only difference is going to be this little stop, because if that's the case, I'll just pull this clutch lever off and I'll run the zip cut in there, which will allow the pedal to come further back, assuming the holes are in the same spot on the pedal. So we will have to get another pedal and just make sure that's all the same. Otherwise, it's not the end of the world, but it's definitely a task to remove all this stuff. I did it on the, oh hey guys, I did it on the Nomad, the black Nomad. I always feel like such an asshole, but I don't think that thing had anything for pedals in it. Simple brake job turns out to be a hassle. So, this is that giant plate. What a ridiculous deal. So it had 2 bolts at the bottom, 2 at the top, and then 4 studs. Now, a typical Tripod Chevrolet, brake fluid mangled the firewall. This right here is exactly where the master cylinder would be. These 4 studs are from to hold like the pedal assembly, so it bolts to the firewall and then bolts to the dash, under dash. So this right here is the brake pedal rod, or brake pedal, and the rod can come out of it. So we got all that out, and that's fine. Now what we're going to do, quickly, Ziploc bags, hang on. Gotta keep the action going. This is double bagged. This is the setup, which will all kind of go together. So this is gonna end up threading on the booster, and that is what's gonna go to the pedal. And what are we gonna mount the booster with, you ask? So that lines up that way, so this must go this way. And I guess maybe we have to, I don't know if it goes top side or down side. But this will go on, oh yeah, just like that. We may have to cut no, we should be good. So that will go on there, that away. I have it on upside down because the hole is kind of covered. There we go. So we'll put the studs or the bolts, the nuts, well, I'm losing it, fine thread, 3/8, back on. Then the brake booster will fit on that, and then the master will go on from there. There's a portioning valve and all that. So I think what we'll probably, man, I should really watch what I'm doing. As I was saying, I think we'll put that all on there, and then maybe call it a night, and I could look at this pedal and everything with a fresh brain tomorrow. I'm not going to plumb it tonight because I want to plumb it as I do the fuel system and all that, and we're going to run a whole new line to the back. So there is some screwing around, so we can do that on, like, you know, another video when we get it running. Because I also want to put a carburetor on it and do a bunch of things, so it needs tune up, so it'll all kind of be tied together. And we have to grind underneath. And people had like a drinking game every time I said seam sealer, they were going to drink. So seam sealer, seam sealer, seam sealer. Yeah. I'm going to, you know what, I'm lazy, so I'm going to zip cut this. It's probably like $1,000, you know, one owner piece, but I don't care. Chink, chink. Get that piece off. We'll be able to mount the master and all that on there. It'll look kind of like a cool car. That's the plan for tonight. Leaving a high note. This thing looks badass, and they do sell an offset bracket, which moves everything up and over, which actually that other kind of thing was. And that is, in case you have like a big block Chevrolet in there, she'll be tight. Small block does fit. I did it on my other Nomad 55, and it was good. So we should be okay. Hopefully we don't run into the generator, but odds are everything's kind of tilted up, so we should be good. I'll get this taken care of, and we'll come back with the tripod. We have hit a cascading bunch of problems. First off, we got the master on. You do have to trim the studs in the back to fit, no big deal. The master, it won't go in all the way, and it is touching the alternator or the generator with some of these, you know, goo gaps. Probably not the best touch there. So an alternator upgrade would probably fix that. Not the end of the world. There is a little nub in there. You gotta make sure it's adjusted properly. So I think we'll probably end up, I guess, Googling how to change from an alternator to a generator. I guess just like a one-wire deal. Go on there and wire it up, be done with it. So that's simple, I guess, ish. Two, the pedal, radically different. So they have the stop in a different spot. The hole that the little clevis that pushes the rod is lower. So that's not good. So it will definitely take some screwing around. Like I said, we'll cut the stop, adjust that, get the brake pedal where we want it, do a measurement on another Tri-5 Chevrolet, because this kit is meant for putting front disc brakes on a stock Tri-5 deal with manual brakes. So I would assume the leverage, or whatever you want to call it, is based on a standard brake Tri-5 Chevrolet. So hopefully I can get in there with a drill and just drill a hole, because what happens This will fit around the brake pedal, and this pin goes through and holds it. So we just have to drill a hole for this pin to go in. So really, again, not a terrible thing to do, other than the fact that it's under the dash of a car. But hopefully if we take a few things off, we can get in there with a drill, measure off the other one, punch a hole in there. It looks pretty simple. It is fairly high up, but we should be able to kind of get that through. I mean, it's just a 1/4 inch hole or whatever that is, 5/16. So punch a hole in it. Then I believe the lever can be adjusted properly, which is a whole other little bit of trickery. And yeah, we'll just yoink this alternator off, which will result in probably needing a different bracket. And again, being the old style deal, there is no head bolts to hold anything. So, but it just goes to the old manifold. So actually, that's not too bad. We should be able to figure something out. Just got a set of ram horns on it, so they probably sell some sort of an adapter to hold everything. I've never actually done that. Usually it's like stock manifolds in the garbage and put on a set of headers that will leak but look cool. But yeah, we're getting there. We'll finish this off tomorrow. We'll get the front, at the very least, we'll get the brakes in, we'll put the generator out, we'll plumb it, we'll mess with the linkage and call it a day, and work on something else for a little bit. But yeah, it looks cool at least. See you tomorrow. New day. We're gonna get this terrible brake job done. I'm gonna just kind of show you a bunch of things and then skip ahead because a lot of it's pretty intricate and hard to see. But if you are doing a disc brake conversion, these are all common things and you really should pay attention to them. I've seen this happen to a few different people, including myself. So learn by our mistakes. I took the generator off. This has your standard kind of Chevy bolt onto the manifold deal. So I don't have one, but I'm pretty sure you can just buy a piece that goes on there and switch over to an alternator, super easy. So we'll probably do that. We also could have rolled the generator in a lot, gotten a shorter belt and screwed around, but I was like, you know what? I want an alternator. The master in here, that little thing there does adjust in and out. You want to make sure that is properly adjusted. In my experience, they come a little bit poked out. And what happens is you put your master cylinder on there. And if you can't like 100% bottom it out super easy, that will be putting a little bit of pressure on the master, enough that it'll start to hold the front brakes. When you're stepping, it won't release all the pressure. It'll cook the front brakes. You're working against it. I did it on Danny's car. My buddy Newburn had it happen. My buddy Chase had it happen. So it's things just to be aware of those things. So make sure that is accurate. Now, this here is a pedal setup from a Trap-Hop Chevrolet. What way does this go? So the way this is going to work, this is on backwards for some reason. Anyway, the concern we have, that's the clutch. Yeah, this must be the brake. This hole, where this hole is where this clevis is going to go onto. Now on our situation, the hole is down here, which we don't really want. So what I'm going to do is measure probably from this spring down or from the pad up or whatever it may be, and we'll have to adjust that. Again, this is on kind of backwards for some reason. Whatever, it's irrelevant for this. We're just talking about the pedal arm itself. We'll have to drill that. The other thing mine has along here is, well, it's actually on the other side, but there'll be like a little standoff, and that is what is hitting the brake switch. So brake switch, obviously, as it's closed, the brakes are off, and it becomes, turns the brake lights on when you step away from the brake. We'll have to zip that off. So I'm going to zip that off, drill a new hole. Hopefully that'll work everything. That will then go in line with the hole in the firewall, which is right behind the brake booster. That's the plan versus this other one that had this weird wonky thing where it came out there. So That's what we're gonna do today. I'd like to get that finished off. And then there is some brake line in that kit. We'll see if we can run the front brake lines, get that all dialed together. There's a little metering block and some lines that go right on the master. It's pretty slick setup. It works great. And yeah, we'll kind of carry on from there. So I'm gonna get under the dash where no one can see anything. I'm gonna hate my life for a little bit, see what we can accomplish. I'll come back and show you. Deal. Brake. I have been screwing around on this brake pedal for a while, but I've learned a lot of what not to do. So the pedal is out. This pedal here is the power brake pedal. So it's got the big deal. I originally tried this to stop, so you can see what it is there. I originally tried cutting it off. That would allow it to have more kick up. The issue we ran into, this shape is different than a manual brake pedal, which, I mean, anything is adjustable, I guess. But what that ended up doing was it caused the pedal to be like, you know, kind of at a weird angle, like almost flat versus like it is now. That's the pedal that was on the that other deal. And the other thing we have to do, so again, that's the hole we're talking about. The other, on a manual brake, it's like 1.25 inches below this, whatever you want to call the hole there. So I have to drill a hole in there, which again is possible, and that would give it the same thing. But my concern was now, it would be at a funny angle. Now that can be fixed with a torch. I mean, you could heat that up and bend it down or cut and weld or any of those things. But the fact that it's a different shape, I don't know. I am not smart enough to know if that affects leverage or what. So I put this in. Oh, and the other thing is, this pedal is friggin' giant, right? And for the large-footed individual, I'm already struggling. But I've done it a few times on the other Nomad. It's a stick, and I got a Nova that's a stick, and it's a small pedal that I can get my boots in between. It's probably the way to go, because you start grabbing this one on the edge, I'm now double pedaling. Now this looks proper, right? Clutch is just a little bit higher. It's got this little spring on there. The brake pedal is proper. Everything's taken apart and greased, so that should be fine. So that all worked. The only thing I have to do now is, this is the clutch rod. If I can show there. It's like half wore out. So I'm gonna weld that and just kind of belt sand it so it's back to new, and there's a little bushing that goes on there. And then we'll have to hook the clutch pedal back up. That goes to right there. If it moves or not, but yeah. Do that, put the little bell crank back on there, and then the clutch is back together and the brake should work. And now, our little hole there is somewhat in line with what we want to accomplish. And this now, I'm 100% confident, this is the exact same setup I've done on multiple Tri-5 Chevrolets, so I know it works. But yeah, you can just see how close that hole is, like the drilled hole to the installation hole versus how far it is on that. So that will affect how the brakes work. This way I know it'll work good. So I'll get that welded up, get everything back together, and I'll show you how this is all gonna piece together. What a friggin' nightmare pulling stuff apart. And there's also a bit of a rat's nest. We're gonna have to clean up some wiring on this thing. Oh, hey guys. Yeah, got everything kind of dialed together. I know it's terrible in here, but we got the clutch linkage all back together there, so that works mint. And then stupid miscellaneous wires. This up here is the little kind of deal. You have to adjust that. So I did have to cut a couple of threads off there, which is very common. And then it's got a little jam nut in there. Everything is all never sees together. As you can see, there's a little bit of play in the pedal before it does anything. Everything is lined up. That's with the brake switch, so that's good. And you can't see what it is on the stop there, so that's mint. And then the light is just really screwing a guy here. But there we go. That's that. Everything is back together, and we'll see under the hood, or it's not under here, which is terrible. Honestly, I gotta say, these tailor-made brake lines worked out pretty good. So they kind of do their thing. That one goes in there. It follows all the way around. curves. Oh, we gotta put nuts on the shocks. Around there and then in. So I really, you know, a pretty sweet little kit. It did come with this as well, and I assume what this is this would go into the back of the metering block, probably run around the front maybe, and then it would put us out on this side. And as you can see back here, maybe you can see back here, I didn't take all the lines out, but this is brake line, and right in there, oh, it's probably terrible to see, there is a little T, so that's where it tees off to go to the passenger front, but it also carries on to the back. And I assume what this piece here would do, it's a little, you know, union, would just, you take the T off, you'd hook up to the factory back brakes, and then you'd be done. And I'll have to look, I don't think I'm gonna use that. It would be slick being on this side, because that's where all the hangers are for it. But I am a big believer in like new brake line. This thing sat for 30 years, who knows what beforehand. Brake lines are one of those things, especially here. I mean, you saw how rusty the floors were. It's probably worth the $15 to put a new brake line in it, and you know it's not. We're not going for factory original, so it'll be fine. And I'd rather have good brakes that work versus factory original stuff that I would blow out halfway back. So I'm using who knows how old line. So we're gonna get that taken care of. I also have a list of stuff. See about an alternator. I want to get new radiator hoses, some heater hose stuff. You know what I mean? All those. We got new plugs, new plug wires. Just clean it up, because it's had a hard life and it needs a little bit of love. Do all those things. You can absolutely just drive this thing if you want, but I mean, again, like this is like a factory GM hose. Either that's original or the guy who replaced it at some point, you know, bought it from GM. But look at the bulge on this thing. That's not great. So we'll get a couple of hoses, we'll put that on there, some new clamps, tie everything away, and really, like I said, start working on the tune-up. But that's where I'm gonna leave it. This is a brake job from hell. Not because of the kit, I mean, it was because of the damn car. These 50s hot rods, they had their own kind of unique things. By kind of the 60s, they kind of had it figured out, at least Chevy did. So you can't really go wrong, and the aftermarket kits are super easy. So like I said, $649, that's what this cost. And that was the whole deal with drop spindles. You can't beat that. And we'll see how long it lasts, but realistically, I've put my first conversion kit I put on my 55 Chevy two-door sedan, that was like 5 years ago. It still stops, I don't know. Seems fine, the calipers haven't seized up or nothing. And this is the exact same kit that I put on my the 55 Nomad, and it made 7,500 miles down the States and back, towing a pile of junk Bricklin, a supercar. So it kind of does its thing. All this is going to go in a milk crate. It'll go in the back of the car when I decide to sell it and make, you know, $12 on it. We'll go from there. So that's where I'm leaving it. Thank you so much for watching. As always, do me a favor, subscribe below, leave a comment. I'm not wearing a shirt, but if you had bought a shirt, I do appreciate that. Always appreciative. And we'll be back. I'm going to do a little cleaning up here, but plumbing underneath, seam sealing, get the floors done, undercoating, tune up, polish, drive it, storage. Right? See you on the next one.